Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, everyone, wherever it is you're joining in from. My name is Dr. Tumsia Maimunaman Isa, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Farmalat. And I want to welcome everyone to the first episode of our newly launched online discourse, The Voice of the Rural Veterinarian. So the goal of this online discourse is to basically hear the voices of the rural veterinarians, gain insight on their day-to-day activities, what they do, and how they're able to position themselves, I wouldn't say in such a dangerous environment, but because we're in Nigeria, we all know that the rural settings are not the safest places to be. However, these individuals, regardless of the challenges, regardless of the buzz and all of the insecurities here and there, they still position themselves in that place. And why? Because the goal is to be able to provide quality animal health care to companion and livestock in that particular community. Why are we all doing this? It's to safeguard public health and food safety. So we all know that the rural communities lack access to quality animal health care, for their livestock, for their companion animals. And we know how this lack of access to quality healthcare poses threats to the public health. So today we want to hear these people we want to hear the voices of these rural veterinarians. Meet them. Know what they do, how they do it, and why they do what they do, right? So I am happy and I am pleased to introduce our first guest on this online discourse in person of Dr. Babangida Aliyu, who is the co-founder of Animal Palace Veterinary Consult, Talata Mafara, Zamfara State. So Talata Mafara is a local government in Zamfara State, and Zamfara State is in the northwestern part of Nigeria. So Dr. Babangida Aliyu, you're most welcome. And we just want to meet you. As I told you earlier, we want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities. And basically, as the conversation goes, of course, I have questions, lots of questions I want to ask you. But as this conversation takes shape, I'm sure from your responses, I'll have more and more questions. And basically, we're just going to have an engaging session. So Dr. Babangida Aliyu, may we meet you? The veterinary community wants to meet you. Who is Dr. Babangida Aliyu?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Dr. Aliyu Babangida Umar, and I am from Zamfara State. I am a young veterinarian with over 4 years of experience. I am currently leading a team of experts as Animal Palace Veterinary Consult, where we provide easy access to veterinary services and products to small-scale livestock farmers in rural areas. I graduated from Usman Danfodiyo University, Sokoto in the year 2018, and I did my NYSC at Kano Undila Veterinary Hospital. And I'm currently giving back to my society. Thank you.
I love that part, giving back to your society. Can we tie it to anything around your experience in Kundila?
Yes, this started right when I was a student. There was a time I was the Secretary General of Zamfara State Veterinary Medical Students. So we organized a kind of medical outreach in a village in Safi local government. The village, I think, was Kunchinkalwo. So it started right from then when I realized that when we get there, a lot of these people are not even aware of veterinary services. And a lot needs to be done to, number one, enlighten them on the importance of veterinary services in itself, and provide those veterinary services to them. And when I got to Kundila also, I interacted with a lot of small-scale livestock farmers, and that have motivated me a lot to dive into this aspect of my profession.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I love people who are inspired by real-life experiences. So now we've met Dr. Babangida Aliyu. Can you tell us a little about your practice? And I know you spoke about your experience in Kundila and also your experience as the secretary of the Zamfara State Student Veterinary Medical Association. But what really inspired you to start Animal Palace Veterinary Consult? Not just Animal Palace Veterinary Consult, but why did you choose to start it in Talata Mafara?
Talata Mafara is actually the community I came from. And right from when I was a student, it was evidently clear that veterinary services is lacking in that area because there is only one veterinary clinic in Talata Mafara. We have a large livestock market that hold every Tuesday, a Kara market. So that veterinary clinic functions only on Tuesdays. And clearly, only one day in a week will not suffice because we have a lot of livestock around and we have a lot of these small-scale livestock farmers that need those services. So being it where I came from and the proximity, I choose to start there. At least they are the people that I know that I can easily interact with, that understand my language, that know me very well. I will be able to communicate with them clearly. So I started there with the aim to expand my wings to the whole northern part of Nigeria, not the country as a whole.
So are you currently just servicing Talata Mafara, or do you also branch into neighboring rural communities?
Yes, sometimes we do that on ambulatory services, but our premises is in Talata Mafara. So sometimes people will call from Maradun, the neighboring local government there, and Bakura also our neighboring local government. So they sometimes call on us because the situation is the same with what we have in Talata Mafara, and we'll go there on ambulatory services.
Okay, so I was going to ask you about, what the animal community there looks like. And when I mean animal community, what are the majority of animals that are found in Talata Mafara, both companion animals and the livestock? Though you mentioned about the Kara market, but I would love to know, other than the market, because of course we know the market attracts people from other states, people from other places. So now the true picture of the livestock community, the animal community of Talata Mafara, there are a lot of dogs, cats, sheep, goats, horses, donkeys, camel. So what's the livestock community? What's the animal community like there?
Okay, with our proximity to Sokoto State, which is the origin of the red Sokoto goat, so one can easily agree with me that we have a lot of red Sokoto goats there, and we also have a lot of sheep around, the Balami, the Uda, the Enkasa, and we also have a lot of cattle, the Gudali, and what have you. We don't have much cases with dogs, actually. I don't know, maybe it is tied with the religious background from Talata Mafara. It has something to do with dogs. So we don't have much cases with dogs. And we used to have few cases on that, and cats also. But the cats cases are more than what we do have from dogs. So majorly, our main focus is the livestock.
Livestock, okay.
Yes.
Do they also are there poultry? Do you have poultry?
Yes. There are a lot of poultry, especially the broiler. We don't have much of layers around. Okay,
the broilers, is it on a small scale, medium scale, or large scale?
Small scale, mostly.
Okay, backyard women, backyard.
Yes, backyard women, yes.
10, 15, 20, that range.
Yes, sometimes up to 100, 200.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. In Talata Mafara.
Yes, of course.
Wow, that's interesting. So what about the large scale poultry farms? You know, there are people who come in from town and because of the access to land, situate their poultry farms around the rural communities. Do you have farms like that?
Yes, we have a farm around that is operating on a large scale, the Rufai farms.
Oh, okay.
That is in Bakura, is in close proximity to us. I think that's the only farm I can see that is around us that is operating on a large scale.
Okay, so what do you think? How can you rate generally the knowledge and attitude of the people in Talata Mafara, their attitude towards animal health care, animal welfare, zoonoses? Like, how can you just give me a brief? What's their attitude? What's their knowledge, their perception around these
Their
things?
attitude, knowledge, perception, and everything is poor. I remember the first time I conducted a cesarean section. That woman came in and I told her I am going to operate on the ewe. She was initially skeptical. She was thinking that this is a new thing she has never heard of.
This was when?
It was about 2 years ago. The first year we started, and it was the first surgical procedure I conducted. So I have to do a lot of talking to convince her, because the normal practice there is once an animal cannot give birth, they will just sell it to the butcher. And
exactly.
Yes, they will sell it to the butcher or slaughter it. Most of the time, they will just call the butcher and he will collect it from them. And the way he will purchase that animal, you will pity the owner, because if out of 100%, maybe you will just give them 20 to 30%.
Other than the fact that they are losing their source of livelihood, see the fetal wastage and stuff. Okay, yes, let's hear this.
I had to do a lot of talking to convince her with the chickeny change that I was going to charge her. At long run, she agreed, and I did a successful surgery, and she was very happy. I was hearing her from outside. Immediately when we removed the fetuses, she was calling home that it has given birth to, and it's a surgery.
Masha Allah. I can already hear her saying it in Hausa. I'm telling you. I can hear with the accent. I can even hear it right now in my ear.
Of course. I drive a lot of joy doing that. And before you know it, the story started going
spreading
around. Yes, it was spreading like fire. They were just telling people that there is a new place there. This is what we are doing.
This is nice.
We started having an influx of cases.
Wow. Was she the first case, or was it the first surgical case?
The first surgical case.
So what was your first case? Like, what was your first day like in Animal Palace in Talata
My
Mafara?
First day, the initial stage was very rough, was very disheartening, because before people realize that there is a new place, it took us a very long time. Sometimes I will come to the clinic and I will not sell anything. I will not
attend to any case.
So with determination, and this is where I am. The first customer I had, I can remember, bought a bolus of a drug. That's the only thing I sold that day. I think it was 15 naira or so.
Oh my God. But
so
I'm glad that
continued like that, to the extent that some people were even trying to talk me out of it, telling me that, look, doctor, since this is not working, why don't you go on other things?
But how do you feel today? I'm sure you're glad you did not listen to them.
I'm very, very glad.
And I would love to that. I would love to hear. I would love to hear about your normal day now that it has picked up. So what kind of cases do you handle frequently? What is your clientele like? Do you have more of women? Do you have more of men? The youths? So what are the demographics of your client? And then, as I said, we have questions here. I would also love to hear about the challenges and the opportunities that lie within this community of yours, because sometimes, the truth about it is we want to do so much, but as a person or as a single organization, there is a limit to what we can do, right? Even if we have all the resources, we have everything, there's definitely a gap that we cannot fill. So that's why we need collaborations, we need partnership. But before we can say we're looking for partnership and collaboration, people need to understand. And for you to understand a place, if you want to conduct a research about a place, engaging stakeholders within that community, within that sector you're interested in, is key, is very important. So by the time we hear what your normal day is like, the cases you have, the opportunities, and then the challenges, then we can start seeing, okay, where do everyone come in, right? Because now you mentioned the clinic in Talata Mafara, which functions fully only on the Ikara market day. So what does that mean? There are no cases before Tuesday, or there are no cases after Tuesday, which we know is impossible, right? So Animal Palace Veterinary Consult cannot do it alone. Okay, so can you give us an insight on what your normal day is like?
Okay, on a normal day, we used to report an average of at least 5 cases a day. And most of our clients are women. We do have youths in poultry production who are also striving in that area. And these cases, as I told you earlier, most used to come from livestock, sheep, goat, and sometimes cattle. Cattle are difficult to transport from where they are to, so they usually used to call us to go on ambulatory visit. So on the average, we record at least 5 cases a day. Livestock, sheep, goat. And talking about partnership, recently, during the last quarter of last year, we did some partnership with about 2 organizations. Number one, we realized that there is a lot of challenges with regards to poultry production. As I told you, most of which are women, backyard farming. Food and Agricultural Organization have depicted that by the year 2050, the Nigerian population will nearly double to 400 million. And with this, there will be increased demand of animal source food. So that means there is an expanding opportunity for these livestock farmers. Notwithstanding, these opportunities will come with so many challenges too, like lack to limited access to resources, increased risks of emerging and emerging diseases, antimicrobial resistance, all those things. So we realized that we need to do something to help these people. So we collaborated with Abdul Gusau Polytechnic, an institution in Talata Mafara, their Center for Entrepreneurship Development. We organized a kind of training to these women and youth in poultry production. And the training was impactful. At least it impacted about more than 50 livestock farmers and to-be poultry farmers. And we also give some free slots to secondary school students, because we realized that these students are having interest in such things. We bring them on board. And we also collaborated with NVMA, the Zamfara State chapter, in giving out free anti-rabies vaccination exercise. We covered Mapara and Bakura local government. That's that. Talking about challenge, I think our major challenge here is insecurity and lack of diagnostic facilities. I remember there was a village on a bull. I was working on a bull, and all of a sudden there was a hue about bandits approaching the area. I was very disturbed, but I mustered the courage to continue, considering the life of the bull that is at stake, which was profusely bleeding.
They said bandits were coming.
Bandits, yes, bandits are coming.
And you were there?
I was there.
Hey.
And it was close to nightfall.
Eh? My
So
body
I
is
was
cringing
there.
self.
I was very disturbed, but I consider these two things. The bull itself is about kicking the bucket because it was profusely bleeding. And I consider the client also because he was very disturbed also. And I realized that he has so much in that bull, his means of livelihood all depend on the bull. So I just mustered the courage to continue. And alhamdulillah, I was able to save the bull and everything went well. I came out of the village fine, and I later got the story that the bandits did not even get to that area. So
Well
these
done,
are the
Doc.
kind of challenges that we face, and we are seriously handicapped with regards to diagnostic facilities. You know.
So when you talk about diagnostic facilities at this point, you mentioned there is need for you to go out for ambulatory, especially when we talk about large animal cases that cannot be brought down to the clinic, right? So are you mobile? Is it that, do you have a vehicle for the clinic, or do you have a motorcycle or something? So how do you move around?
We don't actually have a vehicle for the clinic. We use our own vehicle. We have a motorcycle that we normally use, which is for our own personal use. So when there is a call on ambulatory service, we use it to move around.
Okay. Wow. I'm still thinking around. I'm imagining myself shooting a bull and they say bandits are, even if bandits are in Kebbi, they are not even in Zamfara State. Let me hear that bandits are coming from Kebbi State.
It was actually, it was
this other part on my way
it
back.
Was actually a nasty, it was actually a nasty experience.
I can only but imagine, and this is what the day for you guys, for you people, the rural veterinarians, because everybody is rushing to start up a clinic or to start up a laboratory service in the city. But the truth of the matter is that the people who actually need these services, because these people have limits to information, they're because look at in 2 years ago, that was like 2021. There is a woman that still doesn't know that you can help an animal in distress by performing CS. So this is what would have happened. The butcher will come and underprice her animal. She will lose her source of livelihood, and then look at the fetal wastage. Was the fetus alive?
Yes.
Look at. So double the
income.
Alive. So
in fact, it was two.
Oh, it was twins.
Yes.
Okay, it was a sheep, right?
Yes. The babies were lambs.
Lambs. No, I'm saying that the species you operated on was a sheep.
Yes, sheep. It was an ewe.
And so you see, so this is somebody's livelihood would have just been cut short like that. And you can imagine what it would take her to procure a new animal and then to start. But now the mother is alive, the dam is alive, and then she has 2 new additions to the family. So in some few months now, her flock size has increased, right?
Well,
and then before you know it, more animals are coming, and then a sustainable livelihood for herself and the family. So when you talked about lack of diagnostic facility, so like would I say, when you talk about diagnostic facility, are you talking about something very complex or basic diagnostic tools like a microscope, hematocrit, it's just basic centrifuge? So when you say lack of diagnostic facility, I want you to break it down to like, okay, say, even if we have as little as a microscope or a centrifuge, or basic water testing, since you have poultry around, basic water quality testing facilities. So what can you give us an insight around that?
Yes, when I say diagnostic facilities, I mean everything you can think of. Because we are a startup, and you could imagine the amount we are charging these people. If I should tell you, I know you'll be surprised if you compare it to what we are having from our country.
Yeah, I was going to come there
in the south.
Okay, so what are your charges like?
So the charges is very, very, very minimal, to the extent that it is only sometimes covering our operational cost. So to purchase, I understand that we are into a business, so we need to provide all these things for our business. So to purchase these facilities is quite overwhelming. Anything you could think of, microscope, and most especially this simple portable ultrasound machine, because we are dealing with livestock.
I missed that because
yes.
we are dealing with livestock. So
livestock,
ultrasound
yes,
would be very important. Yes.
So sometimes, most of the times, they will approach you. They want you to diagnose the animal if it is pregnant or not. So you can imagine without ultrasound machine,
you are left
yes,
with abdominal
ballotment and palpation, and the little experience you have, you will be able to come up with probability whether it is pregnant or not.
So I think for a start, like having a portable ultrasound machine would go a long way, right? And you know, the good thing is that you can, even if you're able to pick up this diagnosis, you're able to pick up these pregnancies at the earliest stage, right? Most of the complications in the future will be avoided, right? Because if somebody comes and says, okay, please, I want you to help me check whether my animal is pregnant or not, and then you find out that the animal is pregnant, you could tell the person, okay, so now your animal is pregnant too, so you make sure you know the feeding, pay attention on the feeding, and then it just gives the owner some sense of security. Like okay, it's been confirmed now that my animal is pregnant. You say, okay, nutrition, in terms of nutritional requirements, you have to pay attention because your animal is now carrying something, you know, carrying pregnancy. Just the normal advice they give women who are pregnant when they go for antenatal. So I think even in terms of sometimes even some pregnancy complications that animals experience is just due to
could be easily detected with such. Of course.
Exactly. Improper poor management during the pregnancy stages, during the early and mid towards the late pregnancy stages. So if we have all these things in place, it doesn't have to be anything complicated, as you said. You know, for a rural veterinarian, of course, you can't say we're asking for ELISA or we're asking for PCR. And looking at the type of animals you even have in your place, you just need maybe something to perform ultrasound and then basic blood work, right?
Of course.
Maybe a microscope. Sometimes
microscope.
For
fecal analysis. Thank you, because we used to have a lot of worms cases,
helminthosis. Yes. This is really interesting. And because, of course, you said something about your charges, I'm also interested around that part. How are you able to manage it? Because trust me, there's somebody that has a clinic in my hometown, and he said you need to see the struggle to collect 100 naira from animal owners. I said 100 naira. He said 100 naira.
I'm telling you.
He said you need to hear. I will talk for like 30 minutes.
Wow.
Before I'll get to collect 100 naira from the hands of these animal owners. So how are you managing?
You see, initially, when I started, I realized that I need to go easy on these people, because if not, they don't even know the importance of what I'm doing. So if I should overcharge them, they'll run away from me. So I started small, to the extent that if I have a case if we have a case to manage for 3 days, we will charge nothing more than 600 naira. That means every day when the animal is presented to the clinic, the charges will be 200 naira. So that will barely cover the expenses of the drugs and the operational cost. So, and even with this, mind you, I have to send a lot of people away, because when they come, I tell them this is what we will pay. They will say, no, it's too expensive for us. This is the amount they used to do it for us. You see, and part of the thing that motivated me, there is a lot of quackery around that area, a lot of quackery. People are just abusing the profession. So I will just have to send them away and they will go. Like that, we continued. And now that they have started realizing the importance of our work, because when they tell me that this is how we used to do it, I will tell them, so that's for them. I don't know for them, but for my own, this is how I will do it for you. If you are into it, let's do it. Then they realize that our work is different from those people's work. And bit by bit, they started complying. Nowadays, we don't have much complaints on the charges, though they are still minimal. We've also increased it a bit because we've realized that we are growing and we are penetrating them. They have started realizing the importance of the services we are offering.
I like that part. You know, when you go to a place, right, where you know that there is little or no knowledge and knowledge of this thing you're introducing, right? As you said, they're used to quackery, right? A lot of quackery there's a lot of quackery in that community. So when you come as a professional, there'll be a lot of resistance. You know, there'll be a lot of resistance, but that resilience and that perseverance to keep pushing until people are able to realize the value of the services you're bringing to the table as an animal health professional. Like, you can imagine that woman now, trust me, I'm sure she has told all her relatives, all her dengue within
that's definitely
right?
That's definitely what happened.
Exactly. But did you even follow up those lambs? I hope they're still alive and everything is fine.
Yes, they were very okay.
So you can imagine, you've been able to give her a real life experience of the value and the need for quality animal health care, right?
Yes, of course.
So I would also, you mentioned quackery, because I said as you respond to elicit more questions and then the conversation just take that path. So talking about veterinary paraprofessionals, right? We all know that the animal health space is not just us as the veterinarians. We have the veterinarians, we have the animal, what do you call them? The animal
extension
scientists,
workers,
the animal technologists, we have the community animal health care workers, right? Yes. So what is that community? What's the veterinary paraprofessional community like? And what is your relationship with the veterinary paraprofessionals within Talata Mafara?
Yes, when we started, as I told you, we have a lot of them around. We tried to bring them on board. Initially, they were seeing us as a threat, as competition. But we try as much to make them understand that, look, we are into the same thing, because as for me, those extension workers are more or less like our nurses. So we can't do without them, and they cannot also do without us. So we try as much to carry them along. In fact, so far we've even trained some of them.
I was about to say that.
Yes, we train about 5 extension workers so far. Though some of them are still shying away from us, but I know with time they will
eventually everyone will come on board.
Yes, they will come to realize what we are doing. We are not a challenge to them. We can work together as a family because we are into the same thing.
Exactly. Because you know the good thing, the thing about the framework is that we all have roles to play as veterinarians, as animal health scientists, as animal health technologists, as community animal health workers, right? So I think most of the times why they do what they do is because there is lack of mentorship, there is lack of guidance, there is lack of training. So I'm happy when I heard you said you've trained 5, because having 5 veterinary paraprofessionals in the community is not bad. Who have, within how many years? 2 years now?
3.
Have warmed up.
We are into our 3rd year, yes.
Exactly, who have warmed up to you to allow themselves to be trained. And I'm sure you guys have developed a relationship now. Because there are places they can go that we can't, right? And there are things that they can do that we as veterinarians, there's really no need for us to even go there.
Yes.
Right? Exactly. So there are things that even, I was telling somebody, I said, even as vaccine administration, injection, our animal scientists should, yes.
Of course.
You know, but the good thing is that if we're in it together, then we need to do it together.
Definitely.
We need to see each other as a support system rather than a competition.
Of course.
So we're all just, enabling ourselves to make sure that the goal is one.
Is one, of
deliver
course.
Quality animal health care.
Of course.
To safeguard food security, food safety.
And public health.
Health, animal welfare. All these emerging global threats, animal resistance, zoonotic diseases, reimagine and imagine zoonotic
diseases.
infectious diseases. Yes. And all of these things is because we miss them, not because they're not there. We miss them not because they're not there, but because the strategy and how these things are addressed, is not done the right way, right? So
of course.
If you have 5 veterinary paraprofessionals who are on board with you now, I will give you a round of applause to say you have done very well. And I will implore you to continue. Yes, we need to carry each other along. At the end of the day, the goal is just that these animals deserve this one. And not because they are just animals, but because we know the connection, right? The rural community, most of them, their source of livelihood are these animals, right? The ones with the cattle, the ones with the sheep, the ones with the goats. I met a woman who said what she does is they buy tunkia, sorry, it's not tunkia. My house is
akuya.
They buy
is it akuya?
Female akuya.
Okay. Yes.
She said immediately she gives birth, they will buy akuya, and that akuya is tied to that child. As the akuya is giving birth, they're selling, they're saving money for this child, school. When it's time for marriage, the child has something. And when the child is living and the akuya is still alive, or the progeny of the akuya, the child goes to their husband's house, or the husband will carry the akuya.
With those animals, of course.
Look at somebody planning their lives around. So you can imagine them waking up one day with their 5 or 10 akuya and they say PPR is here, and then clears out everything. That has brought them back to square one. Right? And these things are avoidable.
Yeah.
Right? These things are avoidable because if we're able to advocate, we're able to train them on the importance of preventive care in terms of vaccinations, regular deworming, regular checkup, even as little as nutrition, right? Even as, the kind of nutrition and what nobody's saying you should not feed your animal, your kitchen remnants, if that's what you can afford. But then you also need to be enlightened on what the animal needs at different stages.
Of course.
So you spoke of, I have a question that talked about challenges, which of course here we can call them the gaps, because if we're able to fill up these gaps, then it will be easy for us to attain our goals. So what do you want to tell major stakeholders out there? Right? Both private, both government, in terms of the challenges and then in terms of the enormous opportunities that is within Talata Mafara community?
It's simple. The upcoming ones should be carried along. One thing I know that I need to improve, or we need to improve at Animals Fathers Veterinary Consult is capacity building. So we need all those mentoring, partnership, all those things, because we cannot do it alone. We don't have the experience in veterinary entrepreneurship. We are just starting up. So the startups should be carried along. They should be given the necessary assistance needed. So it's as simple as that.
Okay, so now would you say your coming to Talata Mafara, has it significantly changed the attitude and perception of the people in Talata Mafara in regards to animal health care? Has it significantly improved?
Yes, strongly. During the course of my practice, I realized one thing, that they have this perception that you just give your animal drugs and it will grow. So they will just knock into our shop telling us that they just purchase an animal and they need drug to be given it maybe weekly or after every two days. So that's their perception. They will just be giving drugs anyhow without any caution. So I used to tell them that, look, I am selling these drugs. If you buy it from me, I will benefit from it because definitely I have some profit into it. But the right thing for you to do is don't give that animal drug anyhow. If you can bring it to our place, come with it, we'll check the animal. If it needs anything, we do it. Sometimes they will say they don't want to carry the animal to the clinic. So the best thing we do there is, since it's a new animal that's been purchased from elsewhere, mostly they used to buy animals from villages to like the Kara market we have there. So we are very sure that it has not been dewormed, or the deworming has been long overdue. So the best thing we do there is we provide a dewormer to them and ask them to give the animal. We always advise them on the importance of the risks of antimicrobial resistance. So this is one thing I know we've achieved in Talata Mafara. People have not came to realize that those frequent medication are not needed.
So in general now, cumulatively, what would you say, how many clients do you have, returning clients? Like that, you know, that these people are glued to Animal Palace Veterinary Consults?
I will say about 50, our unique clients, yes. We have,
and I'm sure, so you can imagine these 50 clients talking to 50 more people.
Hello,
those 50 more people talking to 50 people. I said you can imagine what the impact, you know, from these 50 people.
Of
and
course.
Then not just the impact on the people, but the impact on their animals. And then how it will spread and trickle down to other people and the other animals. And you know, sometimes people act the way they do, not because they want to, it's just out of sheer ignorance. That's why we need to also invest in advocacy and enlightenment in the rural community.
Of course.
So in Talata Mafara now, can you categorically tell me that if you want to charge, let's say, because they're food animals, let's say you want to charge 2,000 or 3,000 for ultrasonography, do you think they'll pay?
There are people that will gladly do that.
So before
not all of them.
So before you went to Talata Mafara, do you think people would have paid for that?
Not really. Because then we don't even have experts that the people are comfortable with. But now we've established ourselves as experts. They have realized the importance of what we can do. So out of those customers I mentioned, there are people that can afford that, I know very well, but there are some that cannot afford that, because most of these people, as I told you, are small-scale livestock farmers, and they are just keeping those animals for financial security. As you mentioned, sometimes when they give birth, they will just purchase a goat for the child, and when something arises, maybe the child wants to go to school, or the child is sick, or is getting married, they will use that animal. So sometimes these people, to even have what to eat is difficult to them. Talk more of paying for ultrasound, ultrasonography for their animal. So there are some that will gladly pay for that service, and there are some that cannot afford it.
You know, some people cannot really afford it, yes. When we talk about affordability here, some people can't afford it, but you know, there is this thing about getting people to see the value in what you do, the value in what you offer, and the need. So now this woman that you performed cesarean section on her ewe, I'm sure before now there is no way on earth anybody would have convinced her that they would do CS on a goat, on a sheep, and she
definitely.
Right? But you have impacted one person. That one person, you have impacted her through her animal, right? You have saved the life of her ewe. You know, her ewe came into your clinic as one. She came in with one animal, and now she's living with 3. Right? So I feel we need to, as I said earlier, invest in a lot of enlightenment, in a lot of advocacy, in a lot of community engagement, like, because of course this is what I do,
Of
but
course.
our community, of course, your community now is the animal owners in Talata Mafara, the veterinary paraprofessionals in Talata Mafara, yourself, right? The government, because we have a clinic. I'm sure there's a clinic in Talata Mafara.
Yes,
and
there
then
is.
for the people, so where do you come in during this Ikara market day? Is there an increase in number of animals you handle on that particular day?
Not really. Not really. But we used to have increase in sales every Tuesday. As I told you, that Kara market, most of the people there are coming from the villages. So when they come to the market, they will come to our place for consultations sometimes, and sometimes they will come and buy things from us, like the drugs and what have you.
Okay,
so
let me ask you this. Has there been a time where you were handling a case? Let's say the outcome of the case was not good, right? Maybe the animal died or something happened. Okay, let's say the animal died, and you knew deep down, you knew deep down in you that if every other thing you needed was in place, in terms of diagnostic facilities, in terms of the kind of support you need, this animal will still be alive, or the outcome of the case would have turned out better than what you had then. Was that, can you give us, I'm sure you had that experience.
I had an experience like that.
If everything that I needed was in place, you know, I had all the diagnostic facility, I had all the kind of support I needed, the outcome of this case would have been better than what it is, than what we got at that particular time.
Of course.
Yes.
It was on a cat. It was suffering from pyometra. There was pus in the uterus. So I advised the client that we should just spay the animal. We should remove all the reproductive parts. And he agreed. He paid the money. I don't have enough facilities. So we had the surgery successfully. And actually, I think the mistake I made there was I did not wait for that animal to fully recover, and the owner took it away. Later on, he called me that the animal has died. So I was very sure that it's because of, it's as a result of the anesthesia we use. I mean, we don't have the anesthetic machine to monitor all those things. So we just calculated based on the weight of the animal and the dosage of the drug. So I felt very bad. In fact, it took me about 3 days before I came out of that feeling.
Because, so in this scenario, it would have turned out better if you were able to at least perform basic blood work on the animal. You know, that would give you some indicators if there are problems, because sometimes it's not just about anesthetizing the animal. Most of these animals have underlying conditions, maybe with the liver or the kidney, and then,
or even the blood.
Because you don't know, you just see the animal moving around. You see the animal moving around, you assume the animal is normal.
It's normal.
Ketamine, your xylazine, you know, you give, and then
even the PCB will just check the mucous membrane and that's it.
Exactly. Just take temperature and just hope and pray to God that looking at this animal is fine. I can go ahead and surgery and perform my surgery. So it might just be as a result of an underlying issue that the animal had prior to the surgery, and of course with the anesthesia and then the stress of the surgery itself, the animal just finally packed up. So I'm sure if you had some basic laboratory equipment that you could have, even an anesthetic machine, maybe that would have been a bit, because even in the city,
but an anesthetic machine is a bit complex.
Have the anesthetic monitoring machine. So let's even say something you can take to do just basic blood work, check the PCV, Liver function, that's even technical. So just to be realistic, yes, let's even say, okay, let's even be able to check the PCV. And then most importantly, if you had that portable ultrasound we were talking about during the livestock, you would have been able to also perform an ultrasound to pick up the fluid, the pus that was accumulated in the uterus.
In the uterus, of course.
Yes, we're having this discussion for exactly 1 hour. It's 11:54, so we have just 6 more minutes to go. So I would want to give you the next 2 minutes while I'll do the roundup. I'll round up the discussion for today. So in summary, right, what do you want to say? I know I've asked you what you should, what you feel the stakeholders, government, private, NGOs, the animal owners, what you think your thoughts are around their role in making sure that we achieve our goal as veterinary, animal health professionals. But lastly, what's your take-home advice to stakeholders? You know, what's your call to action? What do you think? What would you say in terms of the attention? What needs to be done? Like where we should be right now, and what's the role everyone should play? Like everyone hands on deck. You know, what's your take on that? What would you say? What's your take home in that particular?
Okay, as a social entrepreneur, I know my main concern is the impact, not the money-making aspect of it. But even with that, the money-making aspect should also come into place, because you cannot continue without making any profit. So as I said earlier, we, the startups, need to be carried along. There are a lot of things that we don't know. We are handicapped in that area. Our experience is not up to that level. We need to be carried along. Even a piece of advice from a stakeholder that is above you will go a long way. So let's put hands on deck to promote our profession to the world. Let's show the world the importance of veterinary medicine, the importance of veterinary profession.
So do you think, lastly, let me not put you on a hot seat, do you think the government is doing enough?
The government is not doing enough. I can boldly say this anywhere. The government is not doing enough. The government is not doing enough.
Because you know, what the government fails to understand is that it's not about the government being at the forefront of the activity, but the fact that there is this weight that word government carries, right? Even if you come into a community now, you tell them, apun government in a community, or you see Zamfara state government in collaboration with so, right?
Yes.
There's this weight, you know, that activity carries. When we know that the government is partaking in it, right? The government is driving these things. Because most of the time we call on the government to set up policies, but these policies are set up. What about implementation? What about driving these policies?
Thank you. Sometimes the policies are in place, but they are not enforced.
Yesterday, I saw a document on the National Plan for Strategy for AMR. I sat down, I finished reading it. When I finished reading it, my heart just broke into several pieces. Knowing fully well that this is a beautiful, beautiful document, right? That is just going to end up on our shelves or on our phones now, since we all have the soft copy, right? Implementing it might just be I won't say impossible, may God help us. Maybe better days are ahead, as we're also always saying, better days are ahead. And we're hoping that with conversations like this, with discussions like this, it will elicit action by necessary stakeholders, right?
Yes, you see, veterinary profession is very important to the world. Talking about policies that are there, but they are outdated. Talk about in the abattoir now, if you conduct a meat inspection, you cannot dare condemn the carcass of a butcher. I mean, he will use his knives on you, because then there is a policy in place that if the carcass is being condemned, the government will compensate. Now, such things are not in place. So what can you do? Your work will be so limited.
You cannot blame the butcher for purchasing an infected animal. He doesn't
animal, of course.
And this is the process. If we had checks from even where the animals were coming in, people purchasing sick animals would have been averted. Because how did the animal even get into the country in the first place, right? How did the animal get to the market in the second place, right? And then how did the animal end up on the butcher's table before it went into the market space for people to buy? So all these processes need to be checked, right? And even the policies that we're saying are outdated. Let me tell you something, even these policies that are outdated, if we try to implement it now, there will be a level of sanity. So let's not even talk about revamping or reviving, changing policies to meet up with today's challenges and demands. Even the ones from 1999 or the ones before the 1999, if we're to implement it, there will be sanity in the animal health space.
Of course.
Exactly. It's exactly 12 o'clock from my end here. And I want to use this opportunity to thank Dr. Babangida Aliyu for coming on as the first guest veterinarian on this newly launched online discourse.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Voice of the Rural Veterinarian. I'm glad that you were able to share your experiences with us. We heard your voice, right? And now, at least, I can come to Talata Mafara and say I know a few things around Talata Mafara. This is Dr. Babangida Aliyu, who, regardless of the news of bandits approaching where he was, could not leave a bull to bleed to death. Dr. Babangida Aliyu, God bless you. Well done. We're proud of you. The veterinary community is proud of you. If I had not met you today, I would not say, oh, so there is a vet who risked his life to save a bleeding bull. Thank you so much.
And please, before all this are possible, because we work as a team at Animals for Veterinary Consult. My co-founder, Dr. Saidu Yakubu, has been also up and doing, and our team, our staff, they are all up and doing. I want to also extend my appreciation to them. Thank you.
Exactly, team spirit. So your team is made up of how many people?
We are about 7.
Wow, 7. Well done. That sounds like, for a startup, that's a good number. Made up of how many vets? And you have 2 vets?
Yes, we have 2 paravets and 2 veterinarians, myself and Dr. Saidu Yakubu. Then the remaining ones, yes, the remaining 3 are casual staffs.
Oh, wow, that's really beautiful. That's really nice. The entire veterinary community is proud of Animal Parlors Veterinary Consult in Talata Mafara. This is Dr. Babangida Aliyu, who is the co-founder alongside Dr. Saidu. So you both are from Zamfara State, if I get that correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. And keep saving our bleeding bulls. Keep performing the CS. Keep the fire burning with the advocacy, with the enlightenment. Keep supporting families through by providing animal health care to their livestock. All of these things are not, trust me, they are not unnoticed, right? A time will come where these gaps will be filled and we'll seamlessly achieve our goals together. Thank you so much, Dr. Babangida Aliyu. I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you for having me.
To all our audience out there, thank you so much for streaming in and thank you for streaming in. And do not forget to like, to share, and also to subscribe on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you stay updated with our recent content uploads. Notifications will come in and you'll stay updated. Thank you so much. And my name is Dr. Tumsia Maimunaman Isa, and I'm very happy to be here today with everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Babangida Aliyu. Talk to you soon. I'm sure we have a lot of collaborations and a lot of things to talk about, but that's going to be behind the camera before we now bring it in front of the camera. So thank you so much. Stay blessed and have a nice day. Please, my regards to that woman with the E. Somebody is saying